All right. Hello, r/sc viewers. My name is Ian, also known as Henkarik to some people. This is my first stream back with the team in quite a while, actually. I've been leaving that to our amazing stream team while I do a million other things. So I really want to thank them for doing some awesome work lately and making it possible for me to come back and do these streams for the audience. So yeah, this is a new series that we are doing. It is a Star Citizen Week in Review. I would probably compare it most to like a podcast, but it's definitely not as high quality as an actual podcast. What we're doing is we are talking about the last week of news for Star Citizen, some of the cool stuff that's happening, those kind of things. Not going to be anything too crazy, too in depth, because I don't, we want this to be about an hour, but we are definitely going to be talking about all the cool things that are happening. So first, the first thing that I want to talk about is I want to thank Einar, one of our stream team members, our content staff members. He does a lot of work on our YouTube for designing this awesome new logo for us. We had an AI generated one for a very long time, not very professional. So I really want to thank him for putting something awesome together for us. I very much so love this logo. He did an amazing job on it. So just a quick shout out to him and any of the rest of the team who contributed to it. I don't know if anybody else did, but huge shout out to him. Wanted to give a shout out to Red Eye Savage, who is the lead of our content team, kind of helping take some of the weight off my back. He has done an amazing job, really grown this channel, and again made it possible for more people to see content like this and allow me to do the easy stuff like this. Lets me just pop in every once in a while and work on stuff like this rather than managing everything. He's been doing an awesome job, so I want to make sure I gave him a shout out. And also just the content team in general. They've done some amazing work, really killing it with this. But I will stop talking too much, stop patting their backs. They know how awesome they are. I tell them all the time. So let's jump in and start talking about what we've seen this week. It's been a pretty big week in Star Citizen. We had a new live patch, one that I think people have been looking forward for a while now. It's in the 4.0 branch technically. A lot of stuff happened. So we got 4.2 for live, and then we also had 4.2.1 PTU. That's NDA Evocati, but obviously we have the patch notes for that. So I won't do too many spoilers because I know a lot of people won't want that, but we'll kind of just talk about it very briefly. Some of the new things that are coming. It's nothing major. Mostly looks like a polish pass. I mean, obviously it's a point patch for 4.2. Nothing major there. But let's start with this week in Star Citizen. Just kind of everything that we saw. So everything that we saw, scrolling through, had a bar citizen. I have been to one of these bar citizens. They're a lot of fun, especially when CIG shows up. Definitely when you have friends who are there. It's usually a pretty good time. Looks like so they had Frankfurt, Manchester, and Austin. So what we saw this week, it was a pretty light week. Nothing super big other than obviously 4.2.0 releasing. Had a roadmap update, roadmap roundup. So we'll talk about everything that's on this list, even the newsletter. So diving into it, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is, I would say, a little old. This has been going on for a little bit. Alien Week. I know that this is a lot of people's favorite event of the year. I'm not a huge alien ship fan. What do they say? Humanity first or something? Not really. Not a xenophobe or anything. But a lot of people love this. We got a new ship, the Prowler Utility, which is it's a variant of the Prowler, which is a very popular ship, even though I'm personally not a huge fan, but the base variant is a dropship, and this is more of a cargo carrier. Easy ship for CIG to get out. I would say probably something that newer team members worked on because you already have a pretty solid base. And the Prowler design itself is rooted in a lot of other sci-fi inspiration. Final Fantasy, I believe, was one that there was some dropship in Final Fantasy that really inspired it. So, very recognizable design, but the Prowler utility adds a couple things. I believe it adds a tractor beam. It carries a lot of the same weaponry. I think you lose a little bit, but yeah, you get a little tractor beam there. And I actually really do think that the cargo grid they have on it is pretty cool. But you have a really cool cargo grid where the items attach to these racks that come down. What's really cool about these is I've seen some people attach Atlas mechs to them. Now they're upside down, but gravity, how the gravity works in the game, I think you can like get in it, someone detaches it, and then it will just flip. Could be wrong, but as someone who loves the mechs in this game and is very excited for the future of mechs, mech drop ships are a super cool concept, and I think it's kind of opening the path to more in the future and making that experience a lot easier. But other than that, not a lot of huge changes. I mean, it is still the Prowler. You still have the camera-based cockpit, but a couple different paints available for it. Cargo capacity, nothing special, 32. I wouldn't say that you're really buying this to be the most capable cargo ship. It's more, hey, I really like those alien aesthetics and I would like something that also has, cargo. I want a little cargo runner. Still best with the crew. You have this remote turret, which I believe is slave to the pilot if there's nobody, or if there's no co pilot or whoever operates it, but I could be wrong. Now, price wise, I was pretty surprised. 250 War Bond? That's not bad. And a lot of people will debate whether or not there's a quote unquote alien tax, but I think that this proves that there really isn't. But overall, good price on that. Very happy to see that. A couple other small things. There are some new paints that came with this year's, obviously for the Prowler utility. Other things going on for Alien Week, Alien Appetites, there's always a contest, which is, I believe this one is technically an IRL event, if you want to call it that. You make a alien-inspired dish, and then you send a picture of it. This is still going on till the 29th, so if you are, looking for a chance to win a free ship and you're a little bit of a culinary expert in real life, this might be the event for you. You can win some stuff. So that's Alien Week. Nothing too much else going on. Talking about the bar citizens. This is the in-game gift they've been giving away. Moving on. So let's talk about the roadmap roundup. There's a new space combat mission coming in 4.2.1. I don't think we've seen a ton about that or leaks or anything. I don't know if it's actually playable in Evocati PTU yet, but you're escorting ships that are under immediate threat. New global event. This we don't have a ton of details about yet, but says it builds on collaboration and competition. The Volt laser pistol. So I know a lot of people have been excited for this new line of Volt weapons. Fully automatic sidearm ramps up as the rate of fire heats up. So, I think that we'll be seeing a lot of that in game, whether it's PvP or you're using against NPCs. And then a new medium utility armor. It's been shifted to 4.3, so probably won't see that for a little bit. But we have a lot of cool armors that are starting to show up in either the game itself or coming soon. Now, obviously, we had a Star Citizen Live Q&A this week. We're obviously not going to watch the whole hour and 10-minute video, but we'll kind of talk through. This was a Q&A, so there were questions and then the corresponding answers, so we can kind of talk about those really quickly. So, SCL, Q&A, vehicle flight and balance. Only a couple questions. I'm not going to just read off the answers that we summarize for people, but first question is, what is the intended purposes for heavy fighters? Right now they have the turn rate of ships like Connie, but do not have the shields and firepower to match. The answer is kind of everything that we expected, lower maneuverability, increased firepower. The balance team feels that heavy fighters are in a fine spot, though slightly underperforming. Slightly. Nobody's using heavy fighters right now. Like the F8C, you don't see them anymore, because it's kind of pointless. You can just completely outperform it with a medium fighter. What happened with the new quantum travel experience we saw 2 years ago? And a typical answer. That was from a Squadron 42 build that has changed enough, or changed a bit since. new flight models being worked on also called for some changes to these plans. It's always flight model. Anything that you see that's based on Squadron 42, take it with a grain of salt that it's going to make it into the game, because it might not. Quantum boosting is still coming, but who knows when that's going to come. Next question. We just talked about the F8. Will the F8 ever become a mobility monster again? No. Pretty much. Pretty much the answer is no. They don't want it to become a meta, but again, going back to it just sucks. Nobody uses it. Is balance futile at this point in development with so many new systems will still to come? The answer is pretty much no. It's a constant journey and everything's changing. Great answer, CIG. But kind of the answer we see for some of these things, for things that are quote unquote always changing. So I'm not super surprised by that answer. The next one is give us a lowdown on the updated flight model. Pretty much that master modes did not get the response they wanted. There will be a non-spherical velocity space. Oh, okay. So more agility, being able to move throughout all of the degrees or all of the planes, whatever you want to call it. A lot of changes there. I'm not going to dive too deep into an upcoming flight model because, as I said with a lot of things, particularly the flight model, it's going to change a million times. So it's kind of hard to talk about it until we see it because with flight model in particular, it's very hard to kind of gauge or assume how it's going to perform or what it's going to look like. Capital ships and atmosphere. What the fuck? Oh, I never said it. WTF. So new flight model will have things like thruster efficiency curves that are lower against gravity that will help make capital ships not make as much sense in atmosphere, which I completely support. Are there any plans to make industrial ship turrets a viable defense, or will they remain a POS? Not a super in-depth answer, but they are making changes to turrets in general that will buff them, or that just happened in last release, but more changes coming, and armor will obviously make some changes. Will weather make larger ships harder to fly? It's already in game, according to them. I haven't played with the new rain and stuff, and I've never seen wind affect flying it, but I have seen that some things are going to make it more difficult, and I know we're getting like lightning strikes, which could potentially, knock your components out temporarily. It's realistic. I support it. Not much more to say there. They say, are you happy with the recent changes to missiles and torpedoes? CIG's answer was yes, they're excited for players to test them. I hope. I don't have a lot of, I guess, trust in it because missiles have sucked for a long time and they've done a lot of changes and they haven't always worked well. But I would love it to. They've released missile specific ships and they're kind of pointless to use right now. And the last question is, and I feel like the questions themselves, how they're written in this report or this summarization, are probably a little paraphrased, but our news team is pretty good at getting the point across. Why do ground vehicles suck? They will continue to be updated and given a use. Yeah, we've heard that before. So that's the recap of SCL. So we're not going to watch the video, but we are going to look at Jared's mustache. Where is it? Where's his mustache? I want to see his mustache. Because he got rid of his beard a little bit ago. Please show me I need a picture of his mustache. Where is it? Look at that. Look at that mustache. That's a real man's mustache. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. I love that look on him. It is weird not seeing him with the beard, but Jared has had a million different looks over the years. So I like this one. I like his beard. So that's all we got for that. Next up, let's talk about Star Citizen Alpha 4.2 Live. So this is the live patch that dropped this week. This one's been in PTU for a while. Definitely some really cool stuff that happened in this patch. We got the new persistent sandbox activity, Stormbreaker. I think it's super cool, and I'm glad that we're getting events like this. Radiation is a new environmental hazard, which they're testing alongside that Stormbreaker event. There's new radiation suits, which is super cool. some updates to the Wikello Emporium, and then equipment swapping hierarchy, some space station and landing zone exterior proxy passes in Stanton, whatever, making it look better. We always love to see it. 4 new player hairstyles. We know about the new Valacar fauna, new vehicles, the Icti and the Geo Icti. Huge fan of this. It is the first combat mech, all leading towards the introduction of the Titan combat mechs, which we have been waiting a long time for. We know that they've been doing work on the mocap for that. And then the Icti Rad. The Geo Icti and the Icti Rad are just variants of the Atlas Icti. One has a backpack, one does something with radiation. Someone in chat wants to tell me what it does. Please do. I don't know. Bunch of ship and vehicle, updates, passes, some scanning mode and targeting UI updates, shield regen updates, updates to the Prowler, Idris, and Starlancer series, the missile and torpedo balance updates we talked about, ground vehicle scanning adjustments, love to see it, flight turbulence, we talked a little bit about that earlier, sweeping component health updates, which I know has been an issue lately, like with the Idris, and then Atlas freight elevator usage. Weapons and items, the Volt Prism shotgun, which I know some people said they really liked. The new Decon pen extra, which getting rid of that radiation makes sense, have to have something. Balance to the R97. And then armor radiation resistances, which is something that they need to have, obviously introducing that new rad suit and having an event where radiation is a problem. Dynamic rain, some harvestables, the flight blades, and bomb rack LTP additions. Good. That was a huge point of drama when they sold those at ILW, so I'm glad to see that they are supporting those more, and obviously that you can buy them in game now. So those are big updates. Obviously, we have our usual client, server, network, and performance optimizations. But that is kind of what 4.2 is looking like. So we are actually going to watch the Stormbreaker video real quick. Just if anybody hasn't seen it, I haven't seen it. This will be the first time I've actually watched it. So let's see this.
Day 96. This is it. The breakthrough I knew would happen. The specimen holds answers far beyond their comprehension. Even the infants serve my purpose. They need an end to the regen crisis, and I will deliver it, despite my colleagues' protests. That is why I am essential. Where they see life, my mind sees the design. The data locked in flesh that must be harvested. Science will not cower to moralistic fear. Progress requires clarity, not sentiment. To discover is to survive. To evolve is to rule. Once again, they put their future in the hands of science, yet still refuse to trust its judgment, its results. It's my responsibility to push forward. I will save us all.
Oh yeah, Vector. So yeah, very cool. A lot of really cool stuff in that. The obviously Apex Sandworm. Very cool to see that in game. They're testing it in a controlled environment, which makes sense before they start spawning it elsewhere. But ground-based operations are cool. Pulled some images from the Discord, some cool images from our community. This is awesome, seeing this. So, our community produces some amazing screenshots. So if you're in our Discord, check out the SC screenshots channel. There's so much cool stuff in there. So yeah, that's Stormbreaker. That's kind of the new stuff that we're seeing there. And then the last thing that we've kind of got to talk about is the weekly update. Nothing's super huge. Talks about the stuff you've already seen. But there's always the sneak peek in here. So this is obviously about the RSI Meteor, which is a heavy fighter, shares a lot with the Mantis. You recognize the interior, very open space in the center. Yeah, it's a heavy fighter based on the Mantis. That is really everything for this week. Very excited for this new patch, excited for the ICTY, but cool. Thank you, everybody. Again, my name is Ian. I am our engagement lead, I guess I kind of call myself. I do things like our news, our events, all sorts of stuff. I hope everybody has an awesome weekend, and I will see you back in 2 weeks. We're going to keep this on Saturdays. So everybody enjoy their weekend, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.